Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Breaking Muscle podcast. I'm Daniel Tromello. The show is called Outliers. And you're certainly one of them. You're welcome. So I was on your website last night going through your bio, and I thought it was a typo. I literally thought it was a typo. You did a 292-mile race,
yes.
ultramarathon.
It was pretty intense. It's called the Badwater 135-mile ultramarathon, which I'm training for now. It's in July. It's known to be the world's toughest foot race because it's in July in Death Valley. So it's a little hot. And it's all pavement, which is pretty brutal. But so we start at Badwater, which is 282 feet below sea level. And we run to the portals of Mount Whitney, which is over 8,000 feet. So that's 135 miles. But I decided, why not summit Mount Whitney since I'm already here? And then I got to the top of Mount Whitney, and I decided to go back and run to Badwater, making it 292 miles. And it was pretty intense, but I'm glad I did it. I was the first one in the world to double the official Badwater ultramarathon. So
it's unreal. That's almost 11 marathons.
Yeah, it is.
And I was reading this and I was just thinking, so it was over a week.
Yeah.
What was that like mentally for you?
You know what? I kind of had to go to a place where you just detach and not feel, because, I mean, in the Death Valley race, you start getting blisters early on. I do. A lot of people don't, but I do for some reason. Probably because I don't train as much as my feet. I get my little pedicures. Maybe I shouldn't.
Okay. Pedicures, okay.
I'm still a little Calabasas.
Like that matters. Okay.
Got a little Calabasas in me.
Yeah.
So, but I just, you start feeling the pain pretty much right away. And then I just knew to go to a place where I had to just not feel. And my sport, it's so mental. It's very, a lot of it's physical, but I've been ultra running I ran my first marathon in 1995. Ran my first 100 in 98. So I've been running a lot. So a lot of it to me is muscle memory, and
sure.
I just know going into a race that it's going to hurt. So I just went to that place and I said, you know what? What an opportunity to be the first woman to double the official Badwater. It was kind of a cool thing. I was talked into it. It was not my decision. They twisted my arm. Okay? So, but, it was brutal. I was like, when I finished, they wouldn't let me summit because there was thunderstorms on the mountain. So what happens is they won't let anybody summit Mount Whitney if there's thunderstorms. And that's usually, like, you want to start your summit around midnight. So I had to sit, I finished at 11. I had to sit, and I didn't want to get out of I wanted to stay in that uncomfortable zone, because then if you rest or you're relaxing, then you're like, you know what? It feels good just to go to sleep and go home. So I kind of just hung out and didn't sleep. So I didn't sleep for the first 51 hours. And then the hallucinations started kicking in. So then my crew would say, Shannon needs to sleep, let her sleep. So they took off my watch and they let me sleep for 15 minutes on the white line of the highway. We accidentally took a pillow from the hotel, and I would lay on the highway. And then they would wake me up and they would say, come on, you've been sleeping for 4 hours. So my brain thought I was sleeping for 4 hours.
Wow.
And I'm like, God, I feel great.
Wow.
So in those over 6 days that I ran, I slept a total of 6 hours. So it was just 15-minute little cat naps.
That you thought were 4 hours?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it just goes to show how the mind is so powerful, and how it really, that mind-body connection. I just believe that, I thought that I slept for 4 hours. They told me, and they wouldn't let me see a watch. They wouldn't tell me what time it was. But it's so funny because people always say, what do you think about when you're running? I do a lot of math in my head. I don't know why. I think that's a distraction from maybe the pain or just whatever. But anyway, it was pretty brutal. I remember when I was at mile 291, and it just I kept thinking, where's that finish line? And it was always another corner, always another corner. I'm like, where is that finish line? And it was amazing. I just had a great team. So if I didn't have the team I had, I don't think I could have done it. They gave up a week of their life as a mom and business person, and they're out there taking care of me, feeding me, and listening to me cry and say I don't want to quit.
Everything.
Yeah. So
in a race that long, we're going to get into certainly the 100-mile races that you're doing. how do you decide, like, how do you decipher, because 292 miles is an outrageous amount. How do you break it down for yourself mentally? Is it stages where you say, I've done here at this point? Do you checkpoint?
Definitely. Okay. You have to break it. You can't say, I'm going to run 292 miles, because that's a little mind-boggling.
Sure.
So I broke it down. Well, what I did when I did the double was I actually broke it down to, I'm going to finish the race, which is 135 miles, because I just knew going in, it was my first attempt at Badwater. Yeah. So I'm glad I did, because I think if I would have done Badwater and then went to do the double, I was thinking, no way, because I remember that.
And for those listening, Badwater is, we were just talking about this off camera, is deemed the hardest race in the world.
It's known to be the world's toughest foot race, yeah.
You did it twice.
And I doubled it, yeah. And
you doubled.
This July will be my 8th time finishing it. I want to be a 10-time finisher, so.
Wow.
But it just, it's brutal. I mean, you have your heat, you have the mountain climb, you have the first climb after mile 42. You have to go up over Towns Pass. It's 17 miles up. It's like the heat of the day. Well, now they've changed the race to a nighttime start. So I get there, it's actually nice because I get there in the sunrise, so I get to climb before it gets too hot. Mm-hmm. But then you have that second climb into Panamint, which is brutal because the stretch, when they had the race during the day, when it had a morning start, you had 42 miles of intense heat, because it was 42 miles of pretty much flat before you had to climb. So now when I get to that second day, well, second morning, I have like a 7 mile, so it's a little more condensed heat, so it's hard, but I think starting in the day is harder in the morning. The only problem is when you start at night, you're a little more sleep deprived.
Sure. And
you don't sleep during these races. You've got to go when you have you have cutoff times. So, but yeah, so you break it down. So now that I know the race, I break it down to the checkpoint. So first checkpoint is mile 17. And then I know where this one corner is. I mean, out there, like when you do a 100-mile race, you know where there's the checkpoints
sure.
or aid stations are like closer in. So you know where there's a corner, or here you're like, you just look and there's this long road and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to run that long road. So it's hard to mentally break it down. So you really just have to break it down to checkpoints, which is mile 17, 42, 72, 90, 125, and then the finish.
It's just that easy.
It's like that.
I've always wanted to ask ultramarathoners this, do you listen to music? Or you just kind of...
Yeah, I have to.
You have to?
Yeah, I have to.
Okay.
But some races, they don't allow it. There's some.
They don't allow it?
Yeah, like I just did this one a couple years ago in Vermont, because in conjunction with the 100-mile race, there's a 100-mile horse race.
So you got to be able to hear.
You have to hear the horses coming up behind you. But,
wow.
So it's hard because you're thinking... I think the music gets me out of the funks, I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's what happens when you're in a funky place.
You black out.
Yeah, the music helps, but you do what you gotta do. You're in a funk, and you don't know if it's going to be for 20 minutes or 2 hours. So you deal with it.
Just deal with it. I wanted to ask you, reading your bio, it seemed to me how you started, because you weren't a runner growing up.
No.
You didn't start running until your 30s.
Yeah.
After you had...
my son, Mo.
Which is your second son.
My oldest son is Mo. He's 28 in June, and then Ben is 25, and then I had a little surprise 3 weeks shy of my 46th birthday, Jet, and he just turned 11.
Wow.
So...
And I definitely want to talk about that and your story and why it's so amazing. It's beyond incredible. You're sitting on a couch one day with your son, right? You said you're breastfeeding your son.
Yeah, 2 boys.
And all of a sudden explain to me how this running craze started for you.
Well, I was sitting on the couch watching the LA Marathon, going, why would anybody want to run 26 miles? Crazy, but I'm nursing my son. Mm-hmm. I still have some weight from the pregnancy.
Sure.
And the next day I'm at the market, and my son is like hungry, and I'm like, can you wait like 10 minutes so we just get in the car?
Yeah.
I was breastfeeding.
It
was like a terms of endearment, remember moment. Yeah. She's in the checkout lane. So I pick up this Runner's magazine and Runner's World magazine, and I'm like nursing my son, reading this. So anyway, I threw it in the basket, go home, and I woke up and I started thinking about running. Running, how these people look like they're in great shape. Mm-hmm. I never ran. I hated running. I was a total tomboy. I still can probably do a 360 on my skateboard.
Okay, that's funny.
But I just never liked running. I think in high school when they make you go out, or kids, in school, they make you go run the mile. You don't have time to warm up. And I think that's hard because to me, running is like, it's a whole process. You want to warm up and then you get in the groove, and then that's how you can run these ultras, because once everything gets in sync. Anyway, so I looked through the magazine, and there was a little ad. It said, "Run for me," with a little girl with leukemia. She had a bald head. So I contacted them, and they said, "Yeah, you raise money, X amount. I think it was like $2,500, and we provide you with a coach." So I would go train at a track and work with this coach. And then all of a sudden, my friends are calling me like, "You live in Woodland Hills. Did we see you running in Northridge?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm training." They're like, "You're going to do a marathon?" And everyone like doubted me, which was the best thing. I'm like, best thing you could tell me is you can't do that. So I was training, and then ran my first marathon in '95, and it was pouring rain. It was horrible conditions. I was like, I hate this. But the minute I finished, what am I doing? Looking for that next marathon. So then started running marathons, and then did triathlons, a couple of triathlons. And then I realized it's the running that I like. And the problem was, at mile 20, when everyone feels bad, that's when my body started to feel good. So I'm like, what is wrong with me that I'm like feeling good at 20 miles when everyone's like bending over, in pain? So I went to a running store, and I said, "Is there anything beyond 26 miles?" He said, "Yeah, there's actually this 50K this weekend." And he was like,
50K?
Yeah,
okay.
Which is 31 miles.
Sure.
And it's in the mountains. I'm like, oh my God, I've never done that. So I signed up for it, and I think I came in fourth.
And that was the next weekend?
Yeah, like 3 days later.
You've never even run a marathon before that?
No, that was after running a couple marathons.
You ran a couple, and then...
and then I jumped into this 50K.
Okay.
And I loved it because you're in the mountains,
right.
And you see signs, mountain lion, and all this stuff. And in the beginning of the race, you're running with a pack, and then it spreads out pretty thin.
Right.
And it's called Bulldog 50K, and it's in August this year. It's a great race, but it's in the Santa Monica Mountains. And so I came in, I think, fourth or fifth woman, and then I'm like, oh my God, I love this. I'm running in the mountains, or running through creeks, and I felt like kind of brought my childhood back. I lived in Lake Tahoe when I was younger, and when my Honda 50 didn't start up, I'd have to run to my friend's house, and I'd have to go through the stretch of the mountains.
Sure.
And to me, it's like that's medicine for me to be running through the mountains. I just love it. And then did another 50K, and I beat my time. Actually, I took off a year for some reason, and then I jumped into another 50K, and I PR'd. It was the Ridgecrest 50K. And then the distances for ultramarathons are 50K, 50 mile, 100K, which is 62, like 6.2 would be a 10K.
Right.
And then 100 mile, and then Badwater, which is kind of like off the charts. People don't even want to tap into Badwater because it's like, and a lot of people save it for after they've done so much because,
of course,
it's pretty brutal on the body if you don't go in well trained. Which most people do. I think it has a lower dropout rate than a lot of hundreds because people go into it so well trained.
Sure.
And it's costly, and it's, a lot of people are coming from other countries. So then I did my first 50-mile run. I think I did another one. And then my friend said, there's a 100-mile coming up. I said, well, maybe I should do 100K first, kind of taking baby steps up to the 100-mile distance. They're like, no, just let's all go do it. So it was in Texas. It's called Rocky Raccoon. So I flew to Huntsville, Texas, and at mile 80, I'll never forget. So my pace was like, slow down, you're going too fast, because it was 20-mile loops. And she's like, you're going too fast. And I'm like, when's it going to hurt? It's like I was feeling all cocky and stuff. Oh, wait, I was humbled.
Wow.
Right after that, I was like, my feet were blistered. I have duct tape on.
What mile was this?
Like 60. And I'm like,
you had 40 more miles to go.
Yeah, and I'm like, how am I going to do this? So at mile 80, my friend Gabriel was pacing. He had the course record at Badwater at the time. He was pacing a runner. And what's hard is you do these loops, so you see your car. So because it's the start and finish, and I'm like, that car looks awfully good right now. There's like the heaters on, there's hot chocolate waiting for me, there's a blanket, and I'm like, I would see my car going, it's so easy just to wait. And he's like, he said the best thing, he's like, Shannon, you can't quit. Everybody's hurting right now. I'm like, really? It's not just me? And that was like, I felt like I can pull off 20 more miles. I had time in the bank, and I just bit the bullet and went for it and finished my first 100-mile race. And then...
How'd that feel?
amazing. And like, I mean, you're hurting. I was hurting bad because like I didn't
One of the
pace
things too
myself.
was when you said just initially starting is you started for a child who had leukemia, and I think it's so important for people that are sedentary and want to get off the couch and want to start doing something. It's doing something bigger than yourself.
Definitely.
Beyond you.
Definitely.
Because at mile 80 or during a marathon, mile 20, that little girl is on your mind because you're thinking, I'm doing this for something way bigger than me.
Of course, and actually what it is too is I'm involved with a lot of charities, children's charities, and at the time I was involved with the Ronald McDonald House, and I went to pay a visit and help, volunteer at the Ronald McDonald House, and this little boy named Michael comes up to me, and he lost a leg to cancer, and he had this little Superman t-shirt on, and he's on with his crutches, and he's like, Shannon, are you still running those crazy distances? And I go, yeah, Michael, I'm running a 100-mile race this weekend, and he's like, when, like, oh, actually, I saw him after I ran a 100-mile race, and he goes, well, when do you, they always ask, where do you go to the bathroom? I said, wherever you want. When do you eat? I said, well, we have 8 stations. And he goes, when does it hurt? I said, well, Michael, it hurts around like mile 80 because it's I'm telling a little boy who's 10 who lost a leg to cancer, I go, it hurts at mile 80 because you're tired and you're fatigued and your feet are blistered and your stomach hurts, and I'm going on. He tells me, will you promise me you'll never give up?
Aww.
And I'm like, okay, this is the kid that's going to get me through these ultra marathons. When I see these children, yes, it's definitely, I mean, I run because I love to run, but I think of people that can't walk a mile and I can run 100 or 135 or whatever, and I just feel like I'm blessed to be able to have, this where, as you know, I was diagnosed with MS, and so that kind of set me back a little bit, but it's not who I am, it's...
And I want to bring that up is so here's in front of me is 50 just from 57.
Yeah.
Right? You've been doing your marathons how long?
24 years.
About 24 years. So, and then somewhere around that process, things were halted.
Yes.
Right? And I wanted to kind of, how did that happen? What exactly happened at the time?
It's kind of hard to talk about, but I will. I was running a 100-mile race in Arizona, and it's called the Havilland 100. It's a fun race. It's kind of a hippie. Everyone kind of camps out. It's real, It's like Woodstock meets ultra marathon.
Sounds like fun.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
So, and but like around mile 70 or so, or maybe earlier, I was feeling weird pain in my leg. I mean, you feel pain in your leg when you're running that distance. But this was different. And I had run I just did Rocky Raccoon that year. I did Western States that year. I did Badwater that year. So I ran a lot of 100-mile races. So I thought maybe something was up my legs. So I had an injury. I ended up dropping out of the race. And 2 weeks later, I'm in fetal position in bed going, what is wrong with my body? Something's wrong. I was in excruciating pain. So I go to my doctor, my regular doctor, and he's like, let's do some nerve tests. And so he thought maybe I did nerve damage because of all the running.
Sure.
So he's like, nothing's wrong. He goes, let me send you to a neurologist, just to do some more, and let's get an MRI. So we did an MRI. I went in on Monday. They said, we'll see you in a week. The following Tuesday, so 8 days later, they called me 2 days later. And they said, we need you to come in today. And I'm driving to San Diego because I was working with this editor on this film thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, is everything okay? Because why would they call me 2 days later? They go, when will you be back? I said, I'll be back Friday. They said, okay, set aside 4 hours. I'm like, what's going on?
Well, this is going to be a hard trip to San Diego.
It's how can you think? I mean, I remember to this exact moment where I was driving. Should I pull over? This is not good news. So I go on Friday. My mom went in with me. And I walk in, and I'm like, can I see my results? And they're like, oh, you have to wait for the doctor, we don't have them. And I could see them on the desk. I'm like, can I just look at them? And I saw, all this, I read multiple sclerosis. And I didn't know what, I wasn't real familiar with the disease. So I go in to the doctor, and he goes, well, you have lesions on your brain, those similar to what we would see with someone with multiple sclerosis. And I'm like, so we have to do some more tests. So I did all these tests in his office, and then we did a lumbar puncture, which was not fun. So they had to take spinal fluid out.
Wow.
And then we wanted to do what's called comparative diagnosis, so I kept going and doing more brain scans, MRIs, and they kept seeing more and more lesions. So they said, we're going to wait a few months and see if there's more lesions. But I'm like, wait a few months. I'm like freaking out. My body, my life's like, you're telling me I'm having this disease where I'm going to be in a wheelchair in a year, And so I met with another neurologist, and he was able to squeeze me, and this Dr. Amos, a great and wonderful neurologist. So I met with him. He did a brain scan, and same thing. He goes, come in and bring your husband. So I went in, and he was in tears because he goes, you know what? When you left here, I didn't realize that you were this runner, and then I went home and I searched you, and my wife and I were just impressed by all this running that you do.
Sure.
And he goes, it's so hard for me to tell you this. I feel like I'm telling my daughter. And he goes, but you have, a very aggressive MS.
Wow.
And you need to be on treatment. And I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, well, it's injections. There's all types, but I recommend the Copaxone, which is daily injections. And I said, okay. And my husband at the time was like, did her running start this? Like everyone is like,
sure.
You know what I mean? That's the first thing you would think, right? Like, no, actually running helped me so much with this disease. Mm-hmm. So I said, can I do one more race before I start treatment? And he said, sure. And I didn't tell him it was Death Valley. I said, if I'm going out with a bang. So I ran this was in 2006. And I ran Death Valley, and they were actually doing medical research on me.
How far was Death Valley?
The 135-mile race. So,
what was the heat like?
That year it was pretty brutal. I think it was like 125 plus. The year I did the double, it reached 130.
I did.
Yeah, so that was brutal, especially on the way back. Because at mile 250, I had 42 miles to go. I had this headwind that was like 60 mile per hour headwind.
Wow.
It was like being in an oven.
Literally.
I still remember the heat and the wind coming at me with the sand blowing in your eyes. I had to wear a mask.
Wow.
But so anyway, I'm getting ready to start this new life of treatment. I'm thinking my running's over. I have 2 sons, my husband. And so I run Death Valley. They did medical research on me that year. They had done medical research on me in a 100-mile race, Western States, when you're on your CPKs.
Okay.
And they found that at my lowest, I put no stress on my body when I run these ultras. So your CPKs came back the lowest out of everybody.
Interesting.
So they kind of look for me when I do these sports, these distances. Mm-hmm. So I finished the race, and then my husband said, let's go to Tahiti, let your feet heal, have a little vacation with the boys before you give yourself, this new life or shots every day. And so at 45 years old, a week or 2 later after running Death Valley, I come home pregnant from Tahiti. It's like something in that water.
Okay, and you're 45.
45 years old.
Seemingly very unhealthy since you're diagnosed with MS.
Yeah.
What was that like for you being pregnant? Were you
I
worried
was
about
worried.
carrying your baby up?
Yeah, I was worried because I was told if I don't start treatment that I will be in a wheelchair in a year. That, because I kept getting more and more lesions with each MRI, it was progressive and getting worse, and it was aggressive. And it's RRMS that I have. So I came home pregnant, and I didn't have, I felt like it kind of put the disease at bay a bit. And then I thought there might be something with mom, or hormones, or estrogen, or something. There's some science happening here. So, and then my baby was like a month old. They said, you need to come in for the brain scan. And I said, look, I just had a baby. Can I wait a couple months and enjoy this new life as a mom again, while all my friends are empty nesting and they're traveling trips to Greek and
they're going to Tahiti.
Yeah, they're going to Tahiti.
Yeah.
Hoping to get pregnant.
Yeah.
So, then I nursed for a while, a couple of years. And I had a brain scan like, wow, this is amazing. You have no new lesions. This was when my son, I think, was like 4 months. I'm like, okay, maybe there's something. Okay. So I kept nursing. I nursed for a little bit over 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then I was fine. I got back into running the hundreds, ran another Badwater, just started getting my life back and felt good. I mean, once in a while I would feel like a flare-up was happening, and I kind of knew how to take care of my body. It's almost like ultra running is giving me these amazing tools to handle this disease, because in ultra there's such a comparative with this disease, and ultra running, the fatigue, this pain, you feel like your muscles are weak. It's all this similarity. So I kind of handle it that way. So I know if I start feeling fatigued that I'm going to just wipe out my calendar and relax, because I feel like rest. I believe stress causes a lot of disease issues because I know when I'm stressed, I get a flare or whatever. So I try to maintain a very low stress life, which can be difficult. But so when I went through my divorce, the disease came full force.
Crushed you.
The stress of the divorce, and I have a baby, and it was so, it's...
How long ago was that?
2014 is when it was finalized, but it started around 2010.
So your son was pretty young.
Yeah, young, and we lived in Hidden Hills, and we had 2 houses, so I moved into the other house, we separated, and it just was like, it was brutal. So I started treatment, and, I was giving myself shots every day. I felt like it wasn't what I wanted to be doing. It got really bad at times where it affected my breathing. I'd have to go to the emergency room and go on a respirator machine.
Oh my gosh.
And I had a nurse come to my house with an IV, and it was kind of depressing when you go to your front door, you have an ice chest with 3 days of steroids and,
really?
For the IV, and, look at that, and flashback to my life, how it was prior to this diagnosis. But you know what? I kind of succumbed to this disease for a while, and I felt like, okay, I'm sick, I have to deal with it, and then I just didn't feel good. I just felt like I want Shannon back.
Right.
And I just said, I'm going off treatment, and I was married a second time for a very short time. And he was a movie producer, so we would go to Cannes, and then after Cannes I would go to Morocco and Italy and Spain, and I worked with the chef in Spain, and I started learning about foods and certain diets. I hate to use that word diet, but lifestyles of food, like how people eat. And I was like the Mediterranean. There's a lot of fish, and there's a lot of vegetables, and I like plant-based myself, and follow that diet. I've tried everything because I want to see what works, what can help heal the body, and I'm a firm believer that foods can help heal. And if there's some science behind fermentation and all these different things that go with food and science, I feel that there's something that can go with helping curing. So anyway, I got second divorce, and but I feel like, and then I dove into this culinary school. It's called ACE. It's Academy of Culinary Education.
What I love about you is, and this is just talking to you, it just seems like when you want to learn something, you immerse yourself in it.
100%.
Where did that come from? There's just you just throw yourself in.
Yeah, it's just my personality.
It's just who you are.
Yeah, because I feel like there's always that window of opportunity, and you got to just go.
I'm going to culinary school.
Yeah.
Or
I'm
going to run ultramarathon.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But with the culinary school, it's funny because 30 years ago I took it through the chef is Cecilia de Castro, which has worked with Wolfgang Puck. It's a boutique type school, but it's an amazing, only limited to 10 per class. It's hands-on, but it's like if you watch any of those chef shows, it's like that. It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
So not only did I dive into this cooking, I'm also doing the pastry.
Okay.
So I'm doing Tuesday night and Thursday night. So I have no social life right now.
Yeah.
But I just catered last weekend. I helped cater for the Cystic Fibrosis. I worked with Wolfgang Puck's catering.
Wow.
I worked with Wolfgang Puck's catering for this J-Lo guest Gene launch. So it's like I'm getting all these great opportunities are coming my way. But what I want to do from this is I believe I want to do more like wellness with, with the foods. And it's funny because it's a very French style, so there's butter and, everything's butter and cream. So we have to make this puff pastry. I bring in a vegan butter, gluten-free. Mine looks like this soft hard ball, and everybody's looks so fluffy. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm gonna work it out. And I made it look great. So the next day I brought it into the chef. I'm like, look at the texture. It's actually great.
Of course.
So there's something, if you just want to learn, I'm teaching, I'm a guinea pig for trying to find out what is healthy for everybody. Like, what's the right way to eat? I mean, everybody wants to eat their way, but I believe you should try to be a vegan one night a week if you can. If you don't want to, I just feel like trying different things to see what works for you, what makes you feel good, what gives you more energy, what makes you feel the best. Like we're in California, so appearance is very important to people, because we're coastal, and you're in good shape. And I think that foods make you also feel good about how you, I feel when I eat great, I feel better, and I look better. Or
it's funny you said, my mom, she owns a functional medicine practice. She's a nurse practitioner, local. And people come to see her, and she says, literally, you are what you eat.
Exactly.
That's one of the things she always says. What you consume will end up running your body.
Yeah.
And we find this with just that most people eat an outrageous amount of sugar.
Yeah.
Outrageous without knowing it.
Yeah.
It's in so many different foods. They don't eat whole foods.
No.
They eat all these poor. They have a lot of poor diet.
Yeah.
What was your diet like when you first started running or diagnosed, and how is it? What was it like a complete 180 change? Were you already eating pretty healthy? I'm assuming.
You know what? I was a fitness model before, so I was a gym rat, which I love, because I was on this show on ESPN too, with Corey Everson.
Okay, yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah. So I was always, I took care of my body, but I, cardio, I would, do the stair climber or, stuff like that
Just
back
enough.
in the day. And then, but I just, what was the question again? Sorry.
What was your diet? What was your diet like?
So I was always trying to be lean because I wanted. So it was more like a lot of protein. And before we would do a shoot, I would kind of carbo load because I feel like you get that, that little pump in your muscles. So, but then when I started running, I kind of carbo deplete and then carbo load leading up to the race. Now, I don't really change my diet at all. I eat healthy. I've tried every diet. I've tried vegan, vegetarian, paleo, gluten-free, because I'm trying to see what diet fits best for MS, for, what I feel best. And then I was just doing that intermittent fasting.
Right, we're talking about that, yeah.
But it's hard for me when I'm training, but
yeah.
because my body's like, I'm hungry.
I need food.
But for a 100-mile race, what I try to do is just eat more the week before, just put a little fat on my body, because if you're running a 100-mile race or Death Valley and at mile 50 your body's like, we are not eating anymore, or at least for a while, because my crew comes out like, just take a bite of this cracker. I'm like, it hurts. I go, can you chew it up and just spit it in my mouth like a bird, mama bird? And I've Dana Castor on my team, Jen Shelton. This year I have Amy, who actually lost a leg and a lung to cancer. She's a triathlete. She does 50-mile races. She's an amazing. And I have this girl, Julie, who's her first time. She also has MS, and she's a big yogi. So anyway, I have just a great team. And then this another girl, Becky, who's a surfer. So I have a team of 4. But my diet just is pretty much, I don't really change it, but I eat a lot of plant-based, and I'm trying to lean more towards vegan, but sometimes I crave certain things, and I feel like when you're pregnant, and they say when you crave it, it's because your body needs it.
Right.
And
so
I feel the
like
same. What? I think there's some truth behind that. Like if you're training, if you're craving something, you're depleted of that maybe, or just, you eat it. I mean, I like live a little, so what if we made donuts in my class the other night. I'm like, don't
worry, I'll run 100 miles tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like, that donut looks so good, but we have to try everything in this class too.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I believe in people, it's a lifestyle, how you eat, like food and fitness is your lifestyle. If you're running 100-mile races, yeah, you need to, probably eat more than someone that's, walking, taking a hike, it's everybody does what's best for them. Like I could not tell you to be a vegan. I can't tell you how to, because you might like to eat whatever, I would never tell anybody how to eat.
Sure.
I would share with them what I think is best for their lifestyle, which is what I'm doing now. I'm trying to start like a health stylist thing where I can go into your pantry and say, this needs all the sugar, get all that stuff out. But it's okay once in a while to, splurge. Like I always say, having a cheat day is fine, because then and after a while, once you realize that one cheat day kind of makes you feel not so good, you kind of wean it out of your life, but
you do.
A lot of people don't eat right, and so
that's what we're raised in this very, if you look at the old textbooks of fitness and health, they're so backward.
Yeah.
It's like start with grains at the bottom.
The pyramid.
It should be flipped.
Yeah.
Grains should be like this one's at the top. But it's
Yeah.
interesting how, as we progress as a society, people are, now getting diagnosed with cancer early and having all these, I'm not saying MS was due to diet, but it could have been, and it could have led to
exactly
all these different things.
They don't know, but I think that diet helps these diseases.
Of course.
It's turned that around to like how you're, the way you eat and the way you take care of yourself. And I thought, there was a point where I thought I will never run again. And I just grabbed the bull by its horns and I said, I'm not going to let this disease be who I am. Mm-hmm. It's not who I am. I've been in remission, the longest that I've been in remission, which is amazing.
How long?
It's been a couple, over a year.
Right.
I was having really bad flare-ups where I would have to go, to the ER room and have my nurse come out. And 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I had a flare-up 1 month before Death Valley, a month. So I had my nurse come out. I called my neurologist. He sent out my nurse 3 days of steroids. I have this thing delivered to me, this big box. I'm like, oh my God. I call my crew. I'm like, it was Dina Castor, Jen Shelton, and Connie Gardner. And Connie holds the course record for the 24-hour track runs. Jen, until recently, was the fastest 100-mile female runner. Dina's the silver and bronze medalist. This is my team. It's like, they're like, well, you're not going to run Badwater, right, if you're having a flare-up. I said, don't worry. I gained 10 pounds from the steroids. The next day, day 2, I decided to go on a little walk just because I'm like, I'm thinking, I got to train. So I have my steroid stand. I'm so stubborn. It's like, I'm not good at this. And I fall, I get 6 or 8 stitches in my leg.
No.
Okay, 4 weeks before Badwater.
Oh, my.
I go, have stitches in my leg. I call my team. I go, you're not going to believe it. I'm in bed. I can't run for 9 days. I have stitches in my leg. They go, well, you're not going to run Badwater, right? I said, let me get back to you. So Jen, it's funny because Jen and Connie like, even if we go out there, she's not going to make it past mile 17. Let's get permits for the mountain, because you've got to get permits.
Okay.
So they were planned, so the race started on Tuesday night. They had a plan to summit the mountain Wednesday. So I get my stitches out. I said, we're just going to go out there. We're just going to have fun. Even if I get to mile 17, I want to be amongst my ultra runner friends. It's like,
just hanging out.
Yeah, it makes me feel healthy. Get to mile 17, get to mile 42. The sun's coming up. They're looking at me like, you're looking good, but you look scared. I said, of course I'm scared. I'm like, and my doctor said, don't run the race because the stitches aren't
going to come undone. That's a given.
Well, the stitches were out, but it was wasn't healed.
Sure.
So he goes, you're going to have the ugliest scar. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm an ultra runner. Like, my knees are ugly. My feet, you want to see my feet? You want to see ugly?
Sure.
So I go out there, and mile 42, and then around mile 90, Jen goes, you're going to finish this, aren't you? I said, I didn't come out here to quit.
I love that.
So a month before finishing the race, I had a flare-up, and I had stitches in my leg, and I was inducted in the Hall of Fame that year too. So I had a little bit of pressure.
A little bit.
I'm like, oh my God, and I had all these people cheer me on because they knew that my MS was at its peak at that time. So I had the pressure of. That's what I'm saying. Like, tell me I can't do something. That's the best thing you can tell me.
What's interesting, I'm just curious with this is, why are you doing it now? Right? You look back at your career. You've been running for 24 years. You completed a lot of some of the most difficult races on the planet, with one of the most difficult diseases to do just about anything. Why? Why are you doing it?
Because I love it, and it's my passion. I feel like I want to show people that, how, whether it's a disease or just being healthy, how important exercise is and how important, and I know mine is a little extreme. I'm not saying, go run 100 miles, but just to get out every day. Yeah. And I think the oxygen from when I'm in the mountains, I feel better. If I have a flare-up, I go in the mountains and I feel like that oxygen from the trees, and it makes me feel better. It's like my healing grounds.
Wow. And
I think that it's important that, why would I want to quit exercising? It's so essential and it's so important, and I think that the tools that like I mentioned, that were given to me as an ultra runner, I've used that to fight this disease, and I think it's really helped me. And I think that a lot of people are sedentary; they don't work out, and I just don't know. It's like I want to ask them that question: why? Why don't you want to make your body the best it can be, not appearance-wise, healthy? I think you can fight off diseases that might be coming later on. I mean, I think that, there's so many diseases out there that I think the fact that I was a runner before helped me with the MS, and that I'm continuing to run is helping me with the MS. I think that it's really, I mean, a lot of people say, wow, what you're doing is so extreme, and is it hard on your body? And that's why they're doing a lot of research, wondering maybe is it hard on the body? But I think a lot of things are preconditioned or pre-existing or something like that. But I don't think what I'm doing, because I have to defend my sport a lot, what I'm doing is hurting my body at all. I mean, I mentioned
I was a football player. I used to defend my sport all the time. Of people worried about helmet-to-helmet contact, and which is, of course, I mean, can you get a concussion?
Yeah.
Yes, but.
Yeah, I mean, I got a concussion from falling on my head in a 100-mile race.
There you go. Blacked out.
Yeah, maybe you can get a concussion from walking across the street.
Of course you can.
So it's like, I want to. People said, when are you going to quit? I said, when I'm dead. I mean, I don't want to stop running. I think that I train people to run the marathon.
Right.
I've taken all these women from Hidden Hills and Calabasas, and their husbands got into it, and the high school team, the coach for my son's water polo high school team said, hey, Shannon, these boys need to work on their endurance. Can you take them running? So I took all the boys from the water polo team, and then all of a sudden on that Saturday, they wanted to go in the mountains running and not work out in the pool, and they loved it. And a lot of these kids ran marathons, and the moms, everyone that I've trained, I love to tell, every time I get a newbie, I go, I just want you to know that everybody I've trained, everyone's finished.
There you go.
So,
and that's the thing about people like yourselves is I think what's so important is so many people, they lower their standards to what they think they can handle in
yeah.
And I think when someone's around someone like you inspire me, because it makes me realize that your standards are so high. But it's like you don't start something without finishing it.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have one leg MS.
Yeah.
You've taken out almost every excuse that anybody can give you that they can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's very inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? People are afraid of failure. And I get it, because like I've attempted Badwater 9 times, and there was twice that I didn't finish, but it was during when I was on my treatment, and my body was weak, and I just felt like, but I think, everyone says their limits are here, but your limits are way up here. They're way up there. Like, you don't know what your limits are till you can push and see what, like I always say, let's see, at Mile 80, I say, come on, Shannon, let's see what you're made of. Because I want to quit, because it's tiring, and it's hard on my body, and everything hurts. My organs, I could feel like they've been
And for our listeners, this is one of the fittest women in the world.
No.
You are one of the fittest women in the world, right?
No.
I think fitness isn't just completing a race, but it's mental. I think that ability, your mental capacity is completely different DNA-wise to your average person, you could say. There's something different there going on. And we were talking about this, we're talking about sports psychology, or like every sports psychologist wants to talk to me and say, what the hell's, what's up with you?
What makes you tick?
What makes you tick?
Yeah. Well, you know what, too? We say in my sport it's 80% mental, and the other 20% is mental.
Wow.
So like I don't really train anymore for these races. I don't do what I used to do. I mean, when I first started running hundreds, I would meet Jorge Pacheco at the time, was the world's fastest 100-mile. And I would meet all my ultra running posse, and we'd go run 50-mile training runs in Angeles Forest, and we'd like stash food along the way. And then the next day we would do like a 10-mile back-to-back. I mean, I really trained, but now I have a base, and my mind knows when I put my feet at that start line, it's going to hurt. I know I'm going to overcome, I'm going to hit the wall so many times, but mentally, I'm prepared for that. Like right now, when I'm training, all I'm thinking about is running the Death Valley race. I'm mentally preparing myself to run that race. You can take that into any sport, whether it's you're going to do a 10K, you're going to, bodybuild and weight train and do this competition. You have to visualize. I think that's really important, is visualization.
Yes.
And that's part of the mental training, the mental know-how, it's so mental, and plus, you have to love it. You have to be passionate about it, or you probably won't stick with it. You have to find something that you love. Like, what do I like doing? And I love when I'm running, I see people hiking. I'm like, why can't I be normal, just like those 3 women hiking?
Why can't I just go for a walk with my dog?
Why can't that be this good? But I love it because they're out there, and they drop the kids off at school, and now they're hiking. And I think that's great. I think people, if they can find something that they love, that keeps their body as healthy as their body can be, then that's number one. And matching that with food, like I say, when you go to the market, stay on those outer aisles. Go where there's the fresh produce and all the fresh stuff. And
that's a good rule of thumb. I like that.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
because everything is like
the crap.
Yeah, boxed and canned.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I believe that you got to eat some of that stuff, but I try to stay with a very plant-based and just there's a new thing that's called foraging. Where you're gathering all your food and everything. It's kind of the trendy thing.
Okay.
So since I'm in culinary, it's called vegan's the trend, and foraging is kind of the new thing. It's like gathering and going out and like getting your own foods and from.
Love that.
It's cool. I mean, but it's kind of hippie-ish, but it's kind of cool. But my sport's hippie-ish. We're a little
I guess
cult.
Yeah, it's awesome. I kind of want to wrap up with you. It's been,
Thank you
one of the
having
most
me.
incredible people I've ever talked to.
Thank you.
I'm really excited.
Can I talk about my charity that I'm running for? Okay, so I'm running for two charities. One is Nancy Davis's charity. It's for MS, and she's amazing. She's raised so much money and brought so much research into the people that fight MS, and that's why I run, because I look at these people living with the same disease, and I feel like I look at them, I'm running for them, and it's called Race to Erase MS. And also I'm running for the Ronan Foundation. So Ronan was a little boy that he lost his life to cancer. So I'm running for childhood cancer and MS. So and it's ronanfoundation.org and erasems.org.
There's no doubt to me with those types of charities behind you that you're going to finish at one of your best
races.
Oh yeah,
I got to think of all the people that
race in 6 weeks.
Yeah, July 23rd. It has a live webcast, badwater.com.
I'll be watching that.
Yeah. Send me happy thoughts.
Excellent. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.